Hey everyone.
Hello, good morning, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you?
Doing
Hello.
well with yourself. Hello, Mike.
Happy New Year. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. How was the New Year Eve and all the stuff? Christmas and everything.
Mostly quiet. Spent New Year's Eve with some friends. Uh, and then they went to bed early, so we came home and did the grapes. Uvas.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, we do here. Yeah. That's all the good time, like the most important time of the year, I guess. Uh but yeah, that was fun as well. Yeah, mostly quiet as well. Family stuff and yeah, all all family things. So because my niece is very well, is she only has like 1 year and a half or something. So we had to go to my brother's place to because otherwise it's a pain to have her outside. So
Yeah.
it's tricky.
Nice.
Yeah, and planning about 2025 on mainly on the content FinOps side, seeing what people wanted. I posted a couple posts regarding like what are the purposes for people to do and what are they want to do want to see in FinOps. I think I have a pretty clear idea about the hands-on learning content. I think there is that part missing about the technical hands-on learnings and the video content as well. So we'll focus probably on that in the next few months if we have time to do. But that would be the priority apart from running everything. So.
Did you get a lot of response from the posts?
On yesterday's ones, yeah, I had like, I don't know, 20 comments that are not mine because I had to reply everyone.
Sure.
20, 25 comments about like what they want to see. I think as a learning, I asked about the introduction kind of thing because I'm thinking about a small, short, like email course or something around those lines, something that is easy to digest. Um, for the newsletter stuff, and I had a lot of feedback. On today purposes, I won't have anything. And on the pools, I just have to send one on the newsletter. But I think we have the idea that hands-on is the first topic, and the second topic is videos. So that's mainly it. I had some feedback on the newsletter ads, but it seems like it's not the priority. So seems like some people they say they were too many ads. So I would say like we can do a pro version and that's it. It seems like it doesn't now. If you ask them for paying, it's not the same. So
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
see. That's probably for the future, but we'll see.
Nice.
So a lot of things. How about you, Mike?
Just had a lot of customer requests lately for getting the finalized 2024 numbers in as
Yeah.
quickly as possible because they have to make changes. They have to go answer to, finance people for budget and then get their, get the savings lined up as soon as possible that they, cut costs for 2025 kind of thing. So it's running a bunch of reports and that kind of stuff right now.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Isam, how about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Started working yesterday. Um, Planning for 2025 also. I saw your posts on LinkedIn, but I don't want to comment something that I'm not sure of. I've just started FinOps, like as I told you, 6 months ago, so taking it easily, slowly but surely.
That's good.
And yeah, maybe I'd ask you guys a question. I'm not sure if because that's one thing I can ask regarding FinOps guidelines. Is there like I know every company has its own style of doing FinOps. There are some frameworks and structure, that companies follow. But is there any, let's call it a standard outline or a standard report, or how should a report look like? That's when you have a monthly meeting with the POCs of, leadership, engineering teams, is there a standard format, or it depends on every company how things are done? Do you think if there would be like some kind of a standard thing, what should be shown? I know like every company has its own strategy, its own architecture on like how do they do stuff.
Mhm.
But would there be, for example, a standard format? Like this format can be, tweaked, changed, and tailored for every company's purpose.
I think it's probably it's mainly independent of so it's dependent of the company. So everyone would see a specific information and a specific things. What it seems to be more, let's say, standard is what you saw. Let's say about like um, the KPIs standardization is a bit more evolved because there are like infinite KPIs that you can measure. But in terms of what you saw, I think it's really dependent on the audience and on the industry because it's not the same to measure, I don't know, retail than measure websites, than measure, I don't know, cars or whatever. So I think it's pretty. There is not a consistent answer for the dashboarding kind of thing there.
I
I would
thought
say.
so. Thank you.
I think it
Yeah.
also depends on there's no standard because it depends on what services you're using in each cloud, how far you are on adopting FinOps or cost optimization activities, and it's not linear. You
Mhm.
can pick up various things at various times depending on what your focus is or what your business requirements are. So it's kind of just plugging in puzzle pieces as you go along, and eventually it'll make a whole picture, but there's no standard process to get there.
Thank you. Yeah, sounds good. Yes, that's what I thought. But getting more into FinOps, I thought there like some companies or some people might have a standard that they follow, but it's dynamic. It depends. It varies between every company, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, and Damian maybe can provide more insights on here. On AWS, you have the dashboards that are more or less standardized for them, but you can tweak them. So I think they provide like a base, a kind of way to see information on AWS, like the Kudos dashboards and all these CID cost intelligent dashboards, all this stuff. But then you can tweak them. So they are like a base of dashboarding, but then on it's more on dashboarding than reporting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think so also.
So yeah, in terms of reporting, I don't think there are like standardized reports because as mentioned, apart from the invoicing ones, it's really difficult to have like a standard like one
Reports.
for report.
No.
But yeah,
It's kind
so
of like it
hmm?
depends on reports. Who do you want to provide the reports to? It's also depend on the persona. What do you want to show?
Yeah, that's also should be taken into consideration. But usually,
Mhm.
isn't the most important thing is how much are we spending? So based on that, we can figure out what optimization we can do, or do you have like a different strategy? Is there like a different strategy? So how can I know that we're overspending, for example, unless we see it? So once we see we're overspending, then we can go do optimization. Or can you do optimization without even noticing the problem? Like, are there different KPIs or?
The-
So you will have to you will have to identify so what you consider overspending. It's like you need
yeah,
to relate it towards usage, basically. It's not that it's not a number. Like a close number is not like if I am over 1 million, I am overspending because if I am using all these resources and all these resources relate to I don't know the KPIs that are the sales are increasing, that's fine. So for example, if you want to see if you are overusing or over spending, it would be more like under unused resources such as CPU usage. What is your CPU usage in whatever tool that you are using, or how much are you paying for network stuff. So first identify like have the cost allocation identified, then do a resource kind of well do the showback to see like who is what is making the expenditures, like what parts are making wait or making the budget, see if that makes any sense, and from that you can start optimizing because yeah, but you need to do the cost allocation first, otherwise it's impossible.
yeah, it's like you need to like do the look for the quick wins there. For example, you have like the optimization hub in AWS, and you have like the workbooks in Azure, and then you have the FinOps hub in GCP. So this can give you like a set of things that you can start from there. And also, it's you cannot work on everything because there might be things that can you need to measure that for the ROI that each one give you. But for initially, for looking for quick wins, that's a good start to start from there. From what are these three cloud providers give you, some kind of like quick wins and tips in where you can, reduce cost or reduce waste, right? I think it's better definition here. This is a good start. And from there, you can use those to start creating reports and stuff like that.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Idea, I would say. Um, yeah, mostly that. I think there's not many like standardization, no, because that's made to be pretty flexible on the all the visualization tools like Power BI, Looker, the QuickSight. Everything is made to be like customized because mostly the dashboards need to be customized. So you can start working on templates for things and have reference templates, but yeah, nothing much on the
Yeah,
or
like
having like a standard.
I did my own standard for my company, so I created a standard that we have to follow. Like, of
Mhm.
course, we can always tweak it month over month or week over week as needed. I just want to know if I thought there might be something else that other people do that might add more value, but apparently it's still dynamic even in this aspect.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there is any reference kind of thing. I will have to check it out. I don't think there are because, as mentioned by Mike as well, it's like depending on the nature of the business, so difficult on that.
Can I ask one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead. For sure.
Okay, so mm, I've did some research about measuring savings, but still a bit not clear. I'm not sure how you guys approach this topic. For example, let's say I saved 5,000 or $10,000 in S3, for example, month over month. Do you calculate it a yearly saving or a monthly saving or for how long this bucket has been active or
Yeah. You know, when I
and
when I when I first started, I talked to a guy from the finance guy, and I say, of course you measure it yearly because it's a budget thing. But when you talk to managers, some will look at it like this, and some will look at it differently. For me, the right way is like the finance guys say, always follow the finance. You should look at it yearly, but again, it's also there is no such thing as a standard in those areas as well. But again, in my view, I will look at yearly, of course, yearly.
Okay, and do you think is there any kind of because there's savings and there's avoidance? So is there any case where avoidance applies to cloud? Because I couldn't find any example where avoidance can be. So I avoided this cost because I did 1, 2, 3, for example. Do you think? So I avoided a cost of, let's say, 20K a month because
How?
I I don't know. Just
Well, if you are the reviewing, if you what we did in some customers, that what we did is like we used to look at the architecture of their file. So if you look at the architecture of their file and you say, oh, listen, this is incorrect, and use this service or something like that, and you reduce the cost, then yes, it will go into savings, in my view. I don't know, maybe Mike or Victor had other views.
I think it's I don't I guess I would want to I don't know what really cost avoidance is unless it is, when you're migrating something to the cloud and you decide to, I don't know, go with a different server than was projected or something like that, then are you avoiding that cost? And which is it's still going to be a savings by not spending it.
Exactly.
So, what is avoidance?
I recall having this discussion because I had an internal issue with the topic of cost savings versus cost avoidance. I am thinking about what was the issue because we had to say cost avoidance instead of cost saving because the cost wasn't, I think it didn't happen.
it wasn't
Something
Yeah,
around
but
those lines.
exactly.
So if the cost didn't happen and you were designing the solution and then you in the planning phase you may change something that made it more efficient, you are not saving because you haven't done anything.
But it's also cost optimization, right? So you should have a cost optimization, and you should have where you did, and maybe separate it into two, right? Cost avoidance and cost
It's more like, but it's more
optimization.
like a
But
politics thing. It's more like a syntactic thing.
exactly, exactly.
The optimization is the same, but I think
But
cost
it's
avoidance is just it didn't happen. You change it basic on the design phase, so you avoid it. For example, if you reformulate your solution to be instead of, I don't know, Kubernetes to be lambdas, while designing it, it's like we made a cost avoidance estimated of this because we use that one approximately. If you are doing cost savings, it means that you already have some expenditure and you did something that saved the company some money. I think that was the issue, if I'm not mistaken. I am still remembering it, but I think it was something about because it was like something that we're about to deploy and we seen that is cheaper another way with the POC. And since it was a POC, it was considered cost avoidance instead of cost savings because it wasn't on production. But it's purely political thing, like terminology.
First of all, first of all, you need to ensure that there is a process of architecture review, and I will put the title of okay, let's review the architecture.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
is like Mike said, you're bringing from you're migrating from on-prem, or like Victor said, you are creating a new project. Whatever it is, FinOps is there to review the architecture and put his side on it. And if you are doing an actual architecture change that reduces costs, it should be recorded. That's my view.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that was the issue. I don't recall. It was a couple of years ago, and it was like it was mainly for politics. So if you are working in a big company, that tends to happen. Like They are more focused in the term rather than in the actual savings. So it's like crazy.
Well, we're focusing more on savings, but we were trying just to put them into categories.
Yeah.
And that's where this question popped up, you know. So what should we do now? But apparently it's the same if we're just saving if the cost is already incurred, so it's just considered savings.
Yeah, if it's, I think if it's because you are already like you are saving cost that it's already happening. So definitely it's cost saving. Some people may change that, whatever.
I think you should push for putting it there and make sure that you just mention, okay, this is from architectural review or whatever it is, and this is from
Yeah, like a post. One is like pre-happening
yeah,
and post
post
happening.
up, yeah, whatever.
That's kind of the idea, and it should be more oriented to cost. Now everything should be more towards cost avoidance of, let's say, an alternative. Even though I will call it cost avoidance, it's like well designed things, and that's it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
rather than that. And
that's a good
on the
point.
budgeting, on what you mentioned about the frequency or what Damien said about the yearly, I think it really that should be dynamic. Like depending on who is asking you, you can if they want monthly. If they generally it should be yearly because that's where the reference is. But then if someone asks you month for month, like if you see a company report, you can see month over month, quarter over quarter, and then year over year is like uh, the good number. But if you made a savings through a month, that's the measure that you can do. Then you can do projected years, and that's it. It's what happens.
Okay. Do you guys create, for example, right now, do you usually create a yearly report to show how costs were in 2024, or you just stick with the budget to see the numbers?
Can
Like,
you
Sorry.
repeat that?
do you create a yearly overview? Because I was thinking about creating a yearly overview report, for example.
Okay.
So do you think it has any value?
For usually for finance people, we they will see the value. Yeah.
You're
Uh,
talking about a yearly, like a review of 2024?
yes, but
Absolutely.
budget
Yeah.
and service for leadership, not for finance.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah, I
management they
think.
will look into that. Yeah. I thought
Yeah,
that when
no.
you say yearly, I thought you were talking about the future, and but both finance and management will definitely like to see what happened. Yeah.
And do you measure service change, what services we consume the most, or do you have like specific points you would recommend seeing them?
So we typically do when we're doing a review like that, we will do trends, like we'll identify the trends in spending and then why those trends occurred. We'll identify any, like the savings that occurred, why they occurred, what we did to get those savings. Um, and then anything unusual in the data. So not just a trend, but like an unusual spike or an unusual dip. And why did that happen?
I'm not sure how much, if you talk to management, telling them, easy too, and this, I'm not sure what will mean to them. And
Right.
that's the problem when I
I,
actually had an argument with one of the CCOE managers in one of the places that I've been. Yeah, please put me in the EC2s. What are you going to show them? What you want the services? Who is going to look into that? They're going to show my manager, and she knows what is EC2. What are you trying to show? But again, I think I would like Mike said, it's more about showing them what's your understanding, what they should be, or the work that was done, the trends, and I don't know, based on that, what you're going to do in the future. It's more what I would do. Yeah.
Okay, do you do like some cost variance analysis or um, just based on invoice? So So do we comparing budgeted versus actual
Yes.
changed stuff like this?
Yeah, compare budget versus actual, and you're basically trying to tell a story. You have the data, and part of the FinOps role is, translating between technology and finance. So, you have the data, you're trying to tell a story. If you're trying to tell a story to finance about, the review of the year, then you're identifying all of the trends and the issues and the savings, and you're explaining those in a way that will make sense to finance. What's the story behind the numbers? And you're not going to say, well, there were too many, X1E 10x large instances used for this project. You're going to interpret that to be, the compute resources that were used were larger than anticipated, and you can find out if from engineering if it was because they had to make that change because performance wasn't what they were expecting on the smaller instances. So you're trying to justify everything that has happened, and you got to provide that insight to the people who don't know how the technology actually works. So you're translating it, but you're all, we were over this month because we had a marketing campaign that brought in tons of new users. So we spent more than we anticipated on the infrastructure that supports the application because we had a lot more new user signups than we normally would have.
Okay. Okay. And do you think if it's for technology leaders, would it be more service oriented? Let's say we spend more EC2, we spend more RDS, maybe there's an opportunity for savings plans or research instances, then we would switch the topic more, right? It's gonna
Yeah.
make
And it depends which technology leaders you're talking to. So if you're talking to an app owner that leads the development team, and you identify something there, then you can be pretty specific. Like, yeah, you can talk about instance sizes because they're going to know.
okay, cool.
Or and if they don't, they should.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. And what are you? So is a more Mike depends. Like, what are you want? What do you want to learn, or what do you want to advance in 2025 for the FinOps thing? Like, what are your new challenges or things that you want to learn about?
Um, I want to see if so I'm just starting to get into actually using Focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see in practice if like what the value is in using that for customers who are multi-cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or do they, is it enough value
Yeah.
to engage in it, or is it just a slightly better understanding of something when somebody when the everything when not using Focus is close enough, because everybody that's involved in that understands the difference between the different cloud providers. I mean, the where it's gonna where that, looking at it that way, I know that the main difference can be in people who don't understand technology they can compare apples to apples essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But in those cases, it seems to me that um, most companies are not using AWS for compute and Azure for compute. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they're or at least not on the same for the same applications. It'd be for different reasons, different applications, different architectures. So they're not really comparing apple to apple. They're comparing, the price. You would want to know the price, or you're just comparing the price of the actual compute instances to each other. But unless you have the same application running on multiple clouds with the same number of users and the same, configuration, everything the same, then what are you actually comparing at that point? That makes sense.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. What about you, Luisa?
Yeah, I have few goals. One of them also is looking more into focus, see what value we can extract from it, and also comparing, because there's also like a lot of KPIs in focus, so it has to be targeted. So the KPIs you have to choose must be targeted or must be more relevant to your business, right? So looking more into that. This year I'll do the focus certification and FinOps practitioner. I haven't done that yet, so maybe this year is one of them. And I'm planning also on doing the SysOps admin AWS certification, just to get more into the technical part. I already did the solutions architect and cloud practitioner, but it's just the basics. So let's see how things will be. Because once I think I need more technical knowledge to have more understanding of FinOps in general. Also, it's going to add some value. So that's basically what I'll be working on this year, but mainly focus.
Okay.
I think focus will be very interesting.
No, yeah, I think there is a lot of push on that. On that area. So I think that's a good goal to see. Like what I think it's the defining year of focus to see like if it end up to be a standard for the whole visualization and it let's say disrupts all the normalization stuff. Or if it doesn't end up there and there's still room for the tools to be
It
there.
will
I am
be.
more prone on the first one than the second one, but we'll see. Like it needs to develop.
It will be. I think that it is a bet. It should look at, for example, Kudos. Kudos today it's based on CUR2, right? The moment that they will shift into and they will eventually, they will shift into the focus. That will happen.
Yeah.
And focus will have. I believe that it will be standard because after you have 4 of the biggest companies supporting it, there's no brainer here. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned is about, and I hope that the vendors handle, the providers handled well, is what we heard in the Linux Foundation that they were going to here in Barcelona, that they're going to have 2 releases a year, which is crazy.
Well,
2 releases a year is crazy.
they can do small updates and that's it. I think 2 releases a year is fine.
Yeah.
Depends on what the release is. Like you can
But
always do a
this is
patch
what I
and
say.
call it.
How the vendor, this is what I say. How they support it, because even today updating the dashboard, and maybe this is something we need to talk to Yuri about. It's a pen today. Just deleted everything and started from scratch again, because I say it's better like this than to start fixing it and they had issues also moving from CUR1 into CUR2. It's a pain. Today it's a pain. So this is what I say. It's depend on how they will allow it or how they will support these changes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, that would be interesting in terms of the dashboarding and see if everything unifies. Because now it's more like the export part, like everything is exported through FinOps, and everything is like you can then handle everything on Focus. Let's say so it's exporting on Focus. But now it's like ingesting on Focus, everything on Focus, and see like if it's also input and output standard. Because I think now there is the output, like everyone can export the billing on Focus and do everything and then analyze the data, normalize through Focus, and also especially the integration with like on-prem and all the SaaS and all that they announce on the FinOps. Like that's I'm very curious about how they are going to adapt that.
Me too. That's gonna be hard.
Yep.
They're gonna also have focus for on-prem devices.
So the standard should the idea was that standard should be able to support on-prem costs and ITAM or more like licensing cost and SaaS especially. So like subscriptions are a bit easier because you just put the cost and that's it, and you make like I don't know, some generalities about like tool, type, and then price, and that's it. But for example, on-prem costs are way more difficult to do in a non-yearly basis. You can play, and then you have to play around with amortization, which is already there with the self instances. And with savings plans, there is the concept of amortization in place, but it's not exactly the same. That would be curious to see. And the expenditure, it doesn't work the same way. It's not something that you consume. Also the compute is not the same, and the compute units. I mean, you can have it, but doesn't. It's not considered the same way. The compute usage, for example, like you need to make a pro rata or something around those lines, and the networking costs are like you prefer they probably end up not starting with that ones because that would be extremely hard to measure. So it's going to be fun, like how they are able to make it so flexible, so it's able to handle that.
Okay, that's very cool.
Yeah, and see like how the hybrid works. Like if you are able then to connect them, then that would be crazy. But of course, there is a lot of movement to hybrid cloud, and especially if you, for me or anyone that did the certifications for cloud architecture, you get a lot of cloud hybrid cloud, like direct connect, direct routing, all this stuff that VPNs, all these hybrid connections is like half of the exam. So it was half of the picture missing, basically.
Excuse my ignorance in this topic, but if I have on-prem devices, so Focus will also give us the option of extracting Focus data sets from on-prem. That's what if I understood correctly, to the dashboard that we have.
No, so the idea would be, as far as I understand, is like you are able to measure the cost of your on-prem environment through a normalized data standard that is Focus. That's kind of the idea. So your on-prem environment will cost something, right, to run. You don't exactly know how much, but your computed costs, your hard drive costs, your networking cost, it has a maintenance cost. So then you can extract that data and normalize that data together with your cloud data or using Focus.
Okay. Can you show me where was this mentioned? Like, was it on FinOps X?
FinOps X Europe keynote.
Okay.
It doesn't enter into details as far as I understand. And this was day one as
No,
well.
they just mentioned that
Yeah.
from strategy perspective, they are seeing the FinOps is looking more into on-prem, looking more into SaaS. And they are going to start looking into it more and more.
Let me see.
If I remember correctly.
Natalie Udam, aquí está. Let me- Aggregate SaaS support, yeah, ahí más o menos. So here, over here. And then, maybe a sec. And then it's like 127.
Thank you very much.
So from that till 110, 111.
That's very, very cool. Did any of you deploy a focus dashboard or not yet? You're still working on it.
The AWS has a focus dashboard. I believe that
Yes.
even in Power BI and stuff like that, you can find as well. And also, the focus dashboard that AWS are doing, you can connect it to Azure and to GCP as well.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, you can do that as far as I know. So yeah, it's evolving. Let's see how it goes, basically. Especially with the on-prem thing, it's like I'm not sure if it's mentioned that, but that should be the whole idea. And SaaS is going to be the first step. Like that, Datadog, all these, Datadog, New Relic, ServiceNow, etc. Like all these SaaS that you use, or Jira, anything that is a SaaS that you use, that makes sense.
Okay, that's very cool.
Okay, I think that's fine for today. Just not to extend it very long. I think we can close the call a bit earlier today. I think 45 minutes is enough. And then let's meet up next week. I think probably next week there are more people that are now out of holidays. And see what we can do, and let's meet each other the following Friday.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So
Perfect.
thanks everyone for joining, and see you next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Bye bye.
Bye.